Hello and welcome to another episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. Today I shall be doing a makeover on this wonderful little truck model. It is the 11D Scaffold truck made in 1969 and it depicts a Mercedes L series truck which was popular at the time. They changed the superfast wheels only a year later in 1970, so these ones with the black plastic wheels only had sort of a run of 12 months or so. So this one is typical of these model trucks, whereby it's supposed to have some yellow scaffolding components in the back made of plastic, and they're missing. But not only that, this one here, the stickers are badly scuffed and the windscreen has somehow become detached from the roof and has dropped down, as you can see, on the inside of the cabin. Overall, I think it is a simple little model and I quite like it. There is quite a bit of detail in this one and I shall be pointing that out shortly. I was first drawn to this when I was looking in my Matchbox collector's catalogue, the 1969 edition. Whilst I was drooling over all of the Matchbox merchandise of the time, I happened to notice a few here that I've done before. The Mercedes truck there with the trailer, and then of course I noticed the Scaffold truck and realised that it had a Mercedes badge on it, and I thought I never knew they had another Mercedes truck at that time. And I think I've actually got one of these, and I'm looking at this and thinking, wow, I've never seen that scaffolding before. That's really cool. Wish I had that as a kid. Anyway, I dug this one out of my box of regular Matchbox cars and noticed, yes indeed, it's a number 11 scaffolding truck. I thought it was scaffold truck, but scaffolding truck. It's got a red plastic base, which was probably during the transition of Matchbox from full metal models to partial plastic, and then basically nearly all plastic these days, I believe. So having a close look at it, you can see the decal obviously needs to be replaced and the windscreen is loose, as I mentioned before. Has a nice little detail there, the number plate on the back, which is very clear and easy to read. Here's a close-up of the front. Not so easy to read this number plate, but you can just make out the Mercedes brand badge on the grille. So first up, I'm going to take this plastic piece off the base so that I can strip this model down and repaint it. Now, I was looking through my drills and I was reminded that I made this one with the blue ink shrink around it with a shallow cut, so it didn't go through too far when you're drilling out the rivet. Anyway, I'm not going to use that one today, I don't think. Instead, I'm looking through some other similar sized ones, and what I want to do is just really take the outer rim off of that rivet, so that basically 90% of the rivet is left behind, but the base becomes detached. So I am humming and hawing here about which size is the best size for the job. That one looks pretty close. Let's have a look. What is that one? It is I can just make it out, 3.5 millimeters. You can see it on the shaft there, written on the shaft. So here goes, I'm going to drill it out. This is a very common method of removing the base, and of course it does destroy the original looks of the vehicle because the base is going to be retained by a small domed headed screw at the end, which resembles the original rivet but is easily identifiable that this model has been tampered with. So it's probably devaluing it, but I don't care because I just want one of each model in good condition on the shelf in my display cabinet, just so I can look at them and feel happy about it. So I had to go one size bigger. The one that I picked didn't quite cut the mustard, but I got the base off, and as you can see the windscreen fell straight out with no effort at all. Looking at it, a little bit scuffed up, slightly damaged, not too bad. Thankfully there's no cracks in it. Well, I haven't worked out how to repair a crack yet. Now I'm only taking one axle off because the other axle's on the plastic base I just took off. So this is the rear axle I'm going to take off just for the purposes of spray painting the body. I mean, I did actually consider doing something different and masking off these wheels and just spraying the thing all silver and then revealing the wheels afterwards. But I didn't think I'd get full coverage behind the wheels of the new colour. And then of course there is the problem associated with using paint stripper when you've got these plastic wheels. They could in fact dissolve or get damaged in some way. And these ones are very, very good actually, so I should definitely be reusing them after I've given them a bit of a clean. And nothing else to do now except take this old paint off and paint it. Oh no, before I do that I must remember, I did forget once and it was a pain in the butt. I have to drill out and tap the hole that I'm going to use to put the base back on. If I do it later, there's too much fuss and stuffing around and you can damage the model, especially if you've spent time giving it a really nice top coat of colour. So best to do it now so that you can handle the model and fix it up, knowing that you don't have to drill and tap the hole later on in the process. I've got this very thin drill for this and a special chuck that goes in a chuck, because the chuck on the drill won't hold this diameter drill, which is very, very small. I'm also mindful that you can see that the hole that I'm drilling, if I go too deep, it will probably emerge, the drill bit will probably emerge through and into the rear compartment of the truck, and I don't want that to happen. Did it once on the Mercedes, on another Mercedes actually. It was the one with the trailer and the orange canopy, and it's like a mint green one. Look that up, you can see I actually drilled through with that one. That was when I learned, that was the lesson learned that day, and I haven't done it since, I don't think. In the past I have estimated it and put a piece of tape around the tip of the drill to sort of give me an indication as to how deep I'm drilling. But today I'm just doing a little bit at a time and checking that there's no evidence of me punching through, and I've reached the point where I think that that is probably deep enough for me to cut a thread and get a screw in there. So this is a little tap here, it's called a tap, it's for cutting screw threads. It's very, very small, and I've ground the tip off of it so that it will go in a little bit deeper. Ordinarily they have a pointy tip on them, and that will hit the base of the hole before the thread has been cut all the way in. So you can see there on the very tip of it, I've ground it down so it's flat and goes in a little bit deeper. And there's small little bit of footage there of what we are achieving. We are removing metal from the hole, just not much, just a tiny little bit. You can see there it's on the end of the toothpick, and yeah, we're cutting a thread to put this screw in. This is I think it's a 4mm M2 domed headed Allen screw or Allen bolt, and it's a little bit too long for the hole, so I always do a test fit to check that the base is going to be held on firmly, but it's not unless I drill the hole deeper, which I can't do because, as I said before, it might just punch through the base of the tray. So instead I'm going to cut this screw down, which is a little bit fiddly, but I have done it in the past, and I'm using this circular cutting disc in my Dremel and holding the bolt extremely firmly. You can't tell, but I'm clenching those pliers to prevent that thing from moving at all and flying off across the floor. And there we go, that's now half the length, so we'll try it again. And it is a perfect fit, so I'm happy with that. Next up, that's the hard work done. Now the easy stuff. Let's strip this paint off, the silver paint and the decals. And what do I find? I find that my quick strip that I usually use has run out. So I have no option but to drive into the local town and get myself a fresh can before they shut. I'm speeding there all the way. Well, I'm not speeding. I don't speed. I don't condone it. And I did speed once. But anyway, here I come. I'm coming back now. I've got the paint stripper, showing you a little bit of the area in which we live, mainly Australian bush. Finally I get home. It was a 60-kilometre round trip, and I could only get this Diggers brand paint stripper. So I've never used it before, so thought I'd give it a go. And I bought this lovely stiff bristled like Fitch brush, I think they're called. We used to call them Fitch brushes in the UK. I don't know what they're called in Australia. That just is a Uni Pro, but it's got like stiff bristles, which is great for paint stripping because you can like agitate in all the nooks and crannies without the brush folding up on itself. I'm looking at this and it looks very, very watery, and not at all what I was expecting. Diggers paint stripper. I double check. It is a paint stripper, isn't it? It lasts for 24 hours. I don't know what that means. I hope it lasts longer than that. Anyway, I dib and dab a little bit on, and normally at this stage I marvel at how the paint bubbles off and goes all crinkly, and you know, it's sort of a feel-good moment. But today I'm not getting it, and I'm trying to tip this out. It's not really meant for tipping out either, this can. Absolutely hopeless. There you go, wipe down the side there. I don't want to spill it all over my work mat. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, did I get a can of water by mistake? Or is this some kind of very, very, very weak paint stripper? Here's a little bit of a time lapse. I could have let it run longer, but the memory in my camera was running out. So I left it for hours and hours and hours without the camera running. And I came back. I even sealed it in this fast food container to try and contain the fumes of the product to maybe speed things up. And it really didn't do much at all. You can see little bits of silver paint floating around in the water there, but nothing like I was expecting. It didn't even take the sticker off the side, and these aren't decals, these are just like paper stickers that are stuck on with glue. I thought, hey, you know what, I'm not in any rush, I've got other jobs to do, like put this little sign up on Julie's sewing room. This is made from a 20-foot shipping container, and we thought we would call it number 323 in our street. Basically we wanted 322, but they didn't have enough twos in the hardware shop, so we thought we'll go to 323 and we'll get 322 next time. And to do this, coincidentally, I'm doing a scaffolding truck, and I thought, well, this is a great opportunity for me to use my home brand scaffolding that I've had around the back of the shed for a couple of years now. I haven't really had much use of it, but I thought today is the day. Why not? I'm in a scaffolding mood. I've got a scaffolding truck, I've got my own scaffold, and I've got a job that requires some scaffolding. So here I go, and this is, I'm quite excited about this. It looks really good. Very safe, of course, except for these scaffoldings do have a manhole access cover, and you have to ensure that it's closed, obviously, before you climb up on top, because there is a small chance that you could fall through it if you weren't paying attention. But today, I think I am safe. So I'm just going to line this up centrally and get this done and go back and check on the paint stripping. Well, a lesson learned. Never assume, always check. I could have thought, I could have sworn that that hatch was shut when I started, but I must have been mistaken. Anyway, I've recovered, cleaned myself off, and I'm back in the hobby room now, checking on the progress of this Diggers paint stripping product, and I would not recommend it for die-cast models. It does not seem suited to the purpose. Just letting you know, don't waste your money. It's probably good for stripping furniture, who knows, might do a video on that later and test it out, but at the moment I am not impressed. You can still see there, even though this has been bathing for like 6 hours in the stuff, there's still paint on there. I'm just showing you again with the cotton bud there, just trying to show you that the paint is still on there and has not come off particularly well. Anyway, another 24 hours later, and I come back from the shop with the stuff that I love. It's the gel, and I take to you. So let's go again. I'd like to be forgiven for the look of my thumbnail. It continually breaks and gets grime trapped underneath it, regardless of what I'm doing. I know it's a little bit off-putting, but please try and ignore it in the close-ups. So now you can see there was a lot of paint left on this, because now it's actually bubbling up and blistering. You can see just how much paint was not removed by the other product. I get it all off and I give it a nice brush in all of these grooves and nooks and crannies with this, I think it might be like a sort of a rifle cleaning tool. It's a nice soft brass brush. And well, now I do like to look at all the details that have been exposed. Okay, now I have managed to get all of the paint off of this model. Now ordinarily I would undercoat it and have a look at some of the details, but today I'm not, because this is going to be painted silver. It doesn't really make sense to undercoat it, so I'm not going to undercoat this one. But nevertheless, let's look at some of the details that hitherto have gone unrecognised. For example, this leaf spring assembly on the rear axle. It has one attachment point at the front, and yet it has two, and I thought it was a casting error when I was looking at it. It has two on the back. Can you see those two tiny little details there? Right. I'm convinced these toys were not made for children. They were made for adults because of the high quality of the detail. Now here is a fuel tank with a fuel filler cap, and it has a crushed seam sort of made from two halves that are crimped together to make the fuel tank, old style sort of fuel tank. There's a door handle on the front, an intake for the air conditioning, and a very, very small Mercedes badge. Coming around here, we have indicators and lights. Another door handle. This side, maybe a toolbox or something. It doesn't have a filler cap on it, so it's probably a toolbox. Again, we've got that leaf spring assembly on the rear, mimicking what was on the other side. We've got a number plate on the back. Oh, there's a little bit of wire wool. SZE41, I might Google that in a minute. There is indicators and brake lights, I guess. But at the top here, are absolutely insignificant, tiny little, unnoticed, wasn't even worth putting it on there because nobody would have noticed it. It's actually a bolt latch for the rear tailgate to hold it up whilst in transit. And you would rotate it 90 degrees, pull it out, and the tailgate would fall down. Now that is amazing that they went to that much detail. Now, which kind of kid, aged between 6 and 10 or 12 years old maximum maybe, would have noticed that detail? Probably not a lot, but it's only now that I'm an adult I'm looking at it and thinking what an amazing cast this is, and so detailed, and I'm pleased that they went to that much effort. Anyway, now I'm going to paint it, and then it's time to clean the windscreen and put it back together. So I've got to paint this truck silver, and I happen to have a number of different silver products here at my disposal, and I am just trying to work out which one would be the most appropriate, because I know there's silver, but there's also a different silver. There's grey silver, there's titanium silver there, and there's other silvers. So this one here is the White Knight brand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray all three on this piece of card so I can compare the different silverness of each silver. Right, that goes on quite heavy. That's the first thing I noticed there. The Rust-Oleum Universal, rather fancy looking trigger mechanism there. Not a fan of it, to tell you the truth. I like the old push down thing. This is just a gimmick, I think. And wow, that comes out so thick. I think it's for spraying full-size trucks, perhaps. The other brand here is Australian Export. This satin black I use for the bases quite often. Well, I've had this chrome one kicking around for a while now. I don't think I've had much use out of it. So I'll try that. And this is instantly a much better controlled spray. Comes out very, very light, and takes multiple coats to build the product up. The other two came out really quite heavily, I felt. The middle one there, of course, is still drying. That's how thick it came out. So I'm leaning towards the Export. Try this one again. You can see, I was just double checking. Yeah, that is, if I sprayed that on the model, it would hide all of those lovely details instantaneously. So the Australian Export is, for me, a very nice fine spray product that will not obscure any details and is suited for this hobby of small models. Notice also that there's actually 310 grams in the White Knight one and 250. You can't tell by feel, but it's probably why the Australian Export is also a favourite of mine, as it is a couple of dollars cheaper. So there they are, all three of them, and as I said before, I'm going for the Australian Export. Although the Rust-Oleum titanium silver has dried slightly sort of grey, which would have been a nice colour for this model, but as I said, I don't want to spoil it and saturate it with paint, so I'm going with the light spraying can. As soon as I start, I can tell this is the right choice. It is going on absolutely beautifully. No imperfections, no lumps, no bumps, and really nice even coverage. Very light coverage, but complete. That spray pattern is more of a mist, so it gets into all those corners quite easily without too much effort. Whilst that's drying, I turn my attention to the bright green tinted windscreen, which is not realistic at all. And Matchbox used it a lot, the bright green colour, in their transparencies. I don't know why. Maybe it just looked cool at the time. Not very realistic, but then again, well, they were quite realistic, these models, actually, so I'm surprised they used the green. Anyway, I'm waffling on a bit here. I'm just showing you this aluminium auto sol polish is what I use with a cotton bud to polish the transparencies. This one isn't too bad. Like I said, it's not cracked. It does have a couple of dings in it, probably from when it's been rattling around in the cabin unattached to the roof, or detached from the roof, I should say. First attempts is pretty good. You can always tell there is an improvement in a very short time using this aluminium polish. So I keep going again and again until I reach a point where I think, do you know what, I am not going to bother going any further. And at that stage, I clean off any residue with some paper towel, and I use this self-shining floor polish. Some of you people that have watched me for a number of years may remember me doing this. I haven't shown it for quite a while in the last few videos, but this one I thought I would revisit it and just educate people that haven't seen it before. The self-shining floor polish on the transparencies, you don't shake it up because it goes all frothy, you just roll it around gently to mix up the chemicals inside. And I just dunk it under and shake off any excess, make sure there's no air bubbles on it, like foam or frothy look. And then I put it in one of these onion savers. I think you can get tomato savers, and that would probably do as well. And there may even be some cucumber savers, but I use I think it's the tomato saver. It may onion saver. That's it. To keep the dust off of it whilst it hardens and dries. Now here are the decals that came off when I was paint stripping, and as you can see, I don't believe that I can reuse them. Therefore, I'm having to print out my own new ones because I can't be bothered waiting for someone to post them to me from around the globe. So I looked online and copied one of the signs off of the side of a model that was in high definition in a picture, and I had to adjust the aspect ratio slightly to make it look rectangular. And now I've got these self-adhesive white stickers, and basically it is just a white sticker, it's not a decal. Back in 1969, I know they did use some decals, but on this particular model it was a sticker. So I'm just using my home computer to print some of my own stickers. Now, didn't quite line up with the grid on the sticker sheet, but I can work around that. Here's some I did. You can see the ones on the right are useless, but I've got two good ones on the left. And I actually experimented with different reds to try and get the best red I could. The red wouldn't print particularly bright on this white paper, I don't know why, but this is the best red that I came up with. So I'll set those aside, and now I am looking at this plastic piece. Basically, plastic ages and goes a little bit opaque or faded, and it can be rejuvenated with just a simple spray of some gloss varnish. In fact, you can use this for solar cells if you've got garden lights and they look a little bit misty. You can use the spray on varnish to rejuvenate them and make them charge a little bit better. 24 hours later I take this out of the onion saver and I'm amazed at how good it looks. It looks like it's brand new out of the factory. To the naked eye, I should specify, I should mention, yeah. But under this magnification you can see it does look pretty good. There's the axle that I shone up. And now I am in my shed and I'm going to put the wheels back on the rear model that has been painted. The rear section, the metal section. And I use this drill press, again, hate to repeat myself, but some people would not be aware that I can reform the end of the axle with compression and heat from these, generated from these two concave nail punches. One in a piece of wood, directly below one in the drill chuck. Just push down, not too hard, not too soft. Takes a little while to get it right. And that's done. Blow off those little iron filings, and look at that. It looks like it's from the Leslie factory in England. You would never know. Now, to fit this loose windscreen back in, I've done this before also. I used some of this translucent silicone, just a little blob of it. And the reason being is, in the future, if somebody wants to pull it apart, they can by just prising it off, because the silicone, it won't fall apart naturally, but it will with a little bit of effort. If I use super glue, it will make the transparency go all smoky and cloudy, and if I use Araldite or something similar, you won't be able to remove it without destroying it. So it's giving people an option in the future that maybe, who knows, this vehicle might be around for 50 years and someone pulls it apart again, which would be great. I'd love to see a video on that. It'd probably be like a virtual reality video or something. So that looks sweet. Now I'm going to remove that screw that I put in earlier on, remember, right at the beginning, and it's time to refit the refurbished base. And it looks nice. It looks like it's straight out of the injection molding machine. It's all glossy and smooth. Looks new. Flip it over, let's have a look. Couldn't really get much better, in all honesty. Now, with my fat fingers, I found it very difficult to pull the backing off of these stickers, and I was fumbling around for 10 or 15 minutes before I managed to make some headway. And I put these on, and one time it was too far forward, next it was slightly angling up at the front, then next time it was slightly angling down at the front, and I know that I try to get it as good as I can because of the magnification of these cameras these days. They do not let any error go unseen. Looking good. Now, the axles on the front, I didn't remove them, so they haven't had the benefit of being polished by the drill bit during the reforming process. Regardless, I'm going to put some chrome ink on the tip of every axle just to make it look that little bit better. You see, the devil is in the detail with these things, and if you want it to look brand new out of the box, it's the sort of thing you've got to do. Now, I'm reminded of the plastic scaffolding that's missing. I know you can buy it online. I've seen it. So what I did was I got a photograph of it, and I guesstimated some of the measurements, and I drew up a little plan, and I gave them to my son, and he has just recently acquired and become interested in 3D printing, and he managed to print out these excellent examples of the scaffolding that didn't exist before, you know, we made it. So I'm very pleased. So here is the before and after shot coming up, and as you can see, the after shot makes it look really nice. I can't help though, but looking at it, it looks like it's had a bit of play. Even though it's been given a facelift, you can see it's been used or been thrown around a bit due to some minor defects on the casting. Nevertheless, it looks amazing, and I'm very, very pleased, and I'm just going to show you now, pulling up on site, and it's going to deploy its scaffolding just to let you see how it all fits together. And what a great idea from Matchbox to give this little truck some play value where a kid can play at being a scaffolder for the day and click all those yellow bits together to make a work platform. It's pretty cool, really. You don't get toys like this anymore. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. And until next time, this is Marty saying goodbye. Got it all over me already. I just drove 60 k's for this